The huge alien ship appeared in Earth's sky without warning. One moment, the skies were clear. The next, a silver craft bigger than any human ship hung over the Pacific Ocean. World leaders scrambled. Military forces went on high alert. But no attack came. Instead, a message played on every screen and speaker across the planet. We come in peace. We are the Galactic Confederation. 3 days later, Admiral Jin Soo stood on a beach in South Korea, watching the smaller alien craft descend. As head of Earth's United Defense Force, he had been chosen to meet the visitors. "Are we ready for this?" asked President Lee, standing beside him. Jin Soo adjusted his uniform. "No, but we'll pretend we are." The alien craft landed softly on the sand. Its door opened with a quiet hiss. Out stepped a tall figure with blue-tinted skin and 4 arms. It wore what looked like formal robes covered in strange symbols. "I am Commander Do-hyun of the Galactic Confederation," the alien said in perfect Korean. "We have been watching your world for some time." Jin Soo stepped forward. "I am Admiral Jin Soo of Earth. How can you speak our language?" Do-hyun smiled. At least, Jin Soo thought it was a smile. "We have studied your broadcasts. Your world has many languages. We have learned them all." That made Jin Soo uneasy. How long had they been watching? The meeting lasted 3 hours. Do-hyun explained that the Confederation included over 400 alien species across thousands of star systems. Earth was invited to join. "We can offer you advanced medicine, faster than light travel, and protection," Do-hyun said. "Protection from what?" Jin Soo asked. "Space is vast and not always friendly," Do-hyun replied. "Some species do not share our peaceful goals." 1 month later, the United Earth Coalition formed. All nations joined together to deal with the aliens as one voice. Jin Soo was named military commander of the new Earth fleet. Earth's first space colony ship launched 6 months after first contact. Using alien technology, humans reached Alpha Centauri in just 15 days. The colony there grew quickly, with eager settlers building the first human city on another world. Jin Soo visited the colony 1 year after it began. He stood with director Yang Mei, watching children play under an alien sun. "They adapt so quickly," Yang Mei said. "These children will grow up thinking living on other worlds is normal." Jin Soo nodded. "The Confederation has given us so much. Medicine that can cure most cancers, ships that cross light years in days, food production that could end hunger on Earth." "You sound worried," Yang Mei said. "When someone gives you many gifts, they usually want something in return." Yang Mei frowned. "The Confederation says they only want peace and friendship." "Maybe." Jin Soo watched a Confederation ship pass overhead. "But why us? Why now? We're still new to space travel. We have little to offer them." "Perhaps they simply value diversity," Yang Mei suggested. Jin Soo didn't answer. 5 years had passed since first contact. Humans now had 3 colony worlds. Earth's technology had advanced rapidly with alien help. Most people viewed the Confederation as saviors and friends. But Jin Soo had spent his life studying strategy and war. No one gives away power without reason. That night, he received an urgent call from Earth. Ambassador Taiwan, the Confederation's representative to humanity, requested an emergency meeting. "Admiral," Taiwan said when they met. His blue face looked troubled. "I bring grave news. The Drek Empire has discovered your colony on Proxima Centauri b. They have sent ships." "Who are the Drek?" Jin Soo asked. "A warrior species on the edge of Confederation space. They believe expanding species like yours threaten their territory." Taiwan's 4 hands moved nervously. "The Confederation Council is meeting to discuss this problem." "We don't need discussions," Jin Soo said firmly. "If our people are in danger, we need action." Taiwan bowed slightly. "Of course, but diplomacy must come first. That is the Confederation way." Jin Soo watched him leave. A cold feeling settled in his stomach. Something about this felt wrong. He didn't know it yet, but the true test of humanity was about to begin. 5 years after first contact, humans had spread across 3 star systems. The colony on Proxima Centauri b was the newest and smallest. Only 8,000 people lived there, mostly miners and their families. Jin Su was reviewing defense plans in his office on Earth when the alert came in. "Admiral," his assistant said, face pale on the screen. "Proxima colony is under attack." Jin Su rushed to the command center. Large screens showed grainy footage from the colony. Strange ships with sharp, blade-like wings fired on the human settlement. Buildings crumbled. People ran. "Who are they?" asked President Lee, who had joined him. "The Drek," Jin Su said. "Ambassador Taiwan warned me about them last month." "Why are they attacking us? We've done nothing to them." Jin Su shook his head. "Taiwan said they see expanding species as threats." 3 Earth defense ships were near Proxima. They moved to protect the colony, but they were not built for war. The Confederation had helped design them as exploration vessels with minimal weapons. 2 of the ships were destroyed in minutes. The third managed to evacuate 400 colonists before a Drek blast cut it in half. By the time it was over, 6,000 humans were dead. "This is an act of war," Jin Su told the Emergency Council meeting the next day. "We must respond with force." Ambassador Taiwan raised all 4 of his hands. "Please, Admiral. The Confederation does not believe in meeting violence with violence. We will speak to the Drek. We will make them understand." "While you talk, they kill," Jin Su said. President Lee sighed. "The Confederation has been in space for thousands of years. They know how to handle these situations. We should follow their guidance." Jin Su wanted to argue, but he was outvoted. Earth would wait for the Confederation to solve the problem through diplomacy. They waited, and the Drek attacked again. This time, it was a research station in the Alpha Centauri system. 37 scientists died. Then a supply ship. Then a small mining outpost. Each time, the Confederation promised to handle it. Each time, they failed. 3 months after the first attack, Jin Su met with Yang Mai in a secure room on the Mars colony. "I think something is wrong," he said quietly. "The Confederation has technology that could stop the Drek easily. Why don't they use it?" Yang Mai looked worried. "My team found something strange in the debris from the last attack. Look at this." She showed him a piece of metal with strange markings. "This is from a Drek weapon. But see this symbol. It's also on Confederation ships." Jin Su felt cold. "Are you saying the Confederation is helping the Drek?" "I don't know. Maybe this is just a common material in space. But it seems odd." Jin Su took the metal piece. "Keep investigating. Tell no one." Later that week, Jin Su presented his concerns to Earth's Leadership Council. "You think our allies are secretly working with our enemies?" President Lee looked shocked. "That's a serious accusation." "I'm just saying we should be careful about what information we share," Jin Su replied. Ambassador Taiwan, who had joined the meeting, smiled gently. "Admiral Jin Su is understandably upset about the losses, but the Confederation has only humanity's best interests at heart. In fact, we have good news." Taiwan announced that the Confederation had arranged peace talks with the Drek. Both sides would meet on a neutral space station. "This is wonderful news," President Lee said. Jin Su wasn't so sure. Something felt wrong about all of this. His doubts grew stronger when he met the Drek ambassador for the first time. The alien was tall and covered in hard plates like armor. Its eyes were cold. "You humans spread too quickly," the Drek said through a translator. "It makes us nervous. We have a right to explore and settle new worlds," Jin Su replied. The Drek made a sound like stones grinding together. Jin Su realized it was laughing. "Rights? In space, there are no rights. There is only power. The Drek leaned forward. And you have very little of that. Later, Jin Su found Ta Wan speaking quietly with the Drek ambassador. They stopped talking when they saw him. Jin Su was now certain. This peace talk was not what it seemed, and humanity was in grave danger. The peace talks lasted 2 weeks. Jin Su sat through every meeting, watching the Drek and Confederation representatives closely. He noticed how they sometimes exchanged glances when they thought no one was looking. Finally, the Confederation announced they had reached an agreement. "We have wonderful news," Ta Wan said to the human delegation. "The Drek have agreed to stop all attacks on human settlements." "In exchange for what?" Jin Su asked. He had learned that nothing in space came free. Ta Wan smiled. "Just one small concession. Humans must leave the Proxima Centauri system. The Drek consider it part of their expansion zone." President Lee frowned. "That's our newest colony. A small price for peace," Ta Wan said. "The colony has already been damaged, and we will help relocate the survivors." Jin Su wanted to argue, but the Earth Council had already decided. Peace was worth the sacrifice of one colony. The treaty was signed the next day. As the human ships left Proxima Centauri, Jin Su stood on the bridge of his command vessel. He watched the planet grow smaller on the screen. "This feels wrong," he said to his second-in-command, Captain Sumho. Sumho nodded. "Giving up is not the human way." "We're not giving up," Jin Su said. "We're just being smart. For now." Back on Earth, Jin Su received a message from Yang Mei. She had been quiet since the peace talks began. They met in a park, away from listening devices. Yang Mei looked tired, with dark circles under her eyes. "I found something," she said, handing him a small data chip. "But it put my team in danger. 2 of my researchers disappeared last week." Jin Su took the chip. "Disappeared how?" "They were looking into Confederation supply ships that visited Drek space. The next day, they didn't come to work. Their homes were empty." She looked around nervously. "Jin Su, I think they were taken." Jin Su felt a chill. "By whom?" "I don't know. But the data on that chip shows Confederation ships delivering weapons to the Drek. The same weapons used to attack our colonies." Jin Su's hand tightened around the chip. "This proves the Confederation has been helping them all along." "Maybe. Or maybe just some people in the Confederation." Yang Mei looked at him with worried eyes. "What will you do?" "Show this to President Lee. He needs to know the truth." But when Jin Su presented the evidence, President Lee seemed unmoved. "This data could be misinterpreted," the president said. "The Confederation has explained that they trade with many species, including the Drek. Trade is not the same as military support." "They gave the Drek weapons that killed our people," Jin Su insisted. "The Confederation says those were civilian tools, the Drek modified into weapons." President Lee sighed. "Admiral, I understand your concerns, but we need the Confederation. We cannot survive out here alone." As Jin Su left the meeting, Ambassador Ta Wan was waiting. "Admiral," he said, all 4 arms spread in a friendly gesture, "I hear you have concerns about our relationship with the Drek." Jin Su studied the alien's face, just trying to understand our new allies better. "Of course." Ta Wan smiled. "The Confederation values humanity greatly. In fact, we have a gift." The next day, the Confederation delivered advanced medical technology to Earth. Devices that could cure diseases humans had fought for centuries. The public celebrated. News channels called it the beginning of a new golden age for humanity. That night, Jin Su sat alone in his office, looking at the data chip from Yang Mei. "Gifts again," he murmured. "Always more gifts." His computer chimed. A message appeared. "Colony ship lost near Alpha Centauri. No survivors." The peace had lasted exactly 3 weeks. Jin Su opened his desk drawer and took out an old paper notebook. He began to write, not on his computer, which might be watched, but on paper that couldn't be hacked. It was time to make plans. human plans, because Jin Su now knew one important truth. In this galaxy, humanity could count on no one but themselves. 3 months after the peace treaty, Jin Su woke to emergency alarms. Red lights flashed in his quarters. His comm device buzzed with urgent messages. He rushed to the command center. The room was chaos. Officers shouted orders. Screens showed attacks on every human colony at once. "Report," Jin Su ordered. Captain Sung Ho turned to him, face grim. "Drek ships appeared at all our colonies 1 hour ago. They came out of nowhere. No warning. All colonies. At the same time." Jin Su felt cold dread. That's not random. That's planned. On the screens, he watched human buildings burn. Defense ships tried to fight back, but they were outnumbered. Colony after colony sent desperate calls for help. "Where is the Confederation fleet?" Jin Su demanded. "They promised protection. Ambassador Taiwan says they're on their way," President Lee said, entering the room. "But they were delayed." Jin Su's hands tightened into fists. Delayed? Of course they were. The next 12 hours were the worst of Jin Su's life. Reports came in from each colony. Death counts rose. Thousands dead. Then tens of thousands. Then millions. The Mars colony held out longest. They had better defenses, built after Jin Su insisted. But even they fell by the end of the day. And worst of all was the message from the Alpha Centauri colony. Jin Su's daughter, Hannah, was there. She worked as a doctor in the main settlement. "The hospital is under attack," her message said. Her face was dirty, her eyes afraid. "They're targeting medical centers first." "Dad, The message cut off. Jin Su tried to call back. Nothing. When the Confederation fleet finally arrived, the battles were already over. The Drek ships retreated, leaving behind ruined colonies and dead humans. Taiwan came to Earth to offer official condolences. "This tragedy breaks our hearts," he told the Earth Council. "We came as fast as we could." "Too late," Jin Su said coldly. "Millions are dead. My daughter is dead." "We share your grief," Taiwan said. His 4 hands made a gesture of sorrow. "Perhaps this is a sign that humans moved too quickly into space. Some species need more time to develop before they can." "Before they can what?" Jin Su stepped closer to the alien. "Survive. Defend themselves." "Admiral," President Lee warned. Taiwan smiled sadly. "We only want what's best for humanity. The Confederation still stands with you. What's left of your people can return to Earth. We will help you rebuild. Here. Just Earth. Not the colonies. Not the stars." Jin Su saw it clearly now. The Confederation never wanted humans to spread through space. They wanted to control human expansion. Keep them contained. Use them, perhaps, but never let them become true equals. After the meeting, Jin Su found Yang Mei waiting. She had returned from Mars just before the attack. Lucky timing, or perhaps not luck at all. "I heard about Hannah," she said quietly. "I'm so sorry." Jin Su nodded, unable to speak about his daughter yet. "I have more information," Yang Mei continued. "The Drek ships used Confederation navigation systems. That's how they knew where all our colonies were. That's how they attacked at the same time." "Can you prove it?" "Yes. My team saved the data this time. We kept copies in multiple locations." Jin Su took a deep breath. President Lee won't believe it. He's too afraid to stand up to the Confederation. "Then who?" "I have an idea." Jin Su looked up at the night sky. Somewhere up there, the Confederation and Drek ships moved between stars, thinking they had won, thinking the fight was over. "Meet me tomorrow," he told Yang Mei. "Bring anyone you trust, and don't tell anyone where you're going." That night, Jin Su sent a coded message to military leaders he trusted, people who had lost family in the attacks, people who would understand what needed to be done. The message contained just 4 words. Protocol Ultimatum. It's time. Deep under the Rocky Mountains, 50 people gathered in a room that did not officially exist. Military leaders, scientists, engineers, people Jin Su trusted. The room was simple but secure. No electronic signals could enter or leave. No Confederation technology was allowed inside. Jin Su stood at the front. His face showed little emotion, but everyone knew he had lost his daughter 3 days ago. "Thank you for coming," he said. "Each of you is here because you understand what we're facing. The Confederation and the Drek worked together to attack us, to limit us, to keep us weak and dependent." No one argued. Many had seen the evidence themselves. "President Lee still believes we need the Confederation," Jin Su continued. "He won't authorize what needs to be done, so we must act without official approval." This was dangerous talk, close to treason, but no one left the room. "Admiral," said General Sun Ho, "even if we wanted to fight back, how could we? Our fleet is destroyed. Our colonies are gone. We have nothing." Jin Su smiled for the first time in days. "That's what they think. That's what we wanted them to think." He nodded to a quiet man at the back of the room. Dr. Jeho stood up. He looked like a normal scientist, thin, with glasses and messy hair, but his eyes were sharp. "For 5 years," Jeho said, "my team has been developing weapons, ships, technology. We used what we learned from the Confederation, but we improved it, made it our own." "Where?" someone asked. "The Confederation monitors all our factories." "Not all of them," Jeho said. "We built facilities on the far side of the moon, under the oceans, in abandoned mines, places they don't watch closely." Jin Su touched a panel on the wall. A screen lit up, showing spacecraft unlike any humans had publicly built. Sleeker, deadlier. "We have 50 ships ready now," Jin Su said. "Another 100 nearly complete. We have weapons that combine human creativity with alien science, things the Confederation never imagined we could build." The room was silent as people took in this news. "But we need a leader," Jin Su said. "Someone who can unite what's left of humanity. Someone who can make the hard decisions." All eyes turned to the back of the room, where a woman sat quietly. President Maicha was not the official leader of Earth. She had lost the last election to President Lee. But she had once been a soldier. She understood war. "Will you lead us, Maicha?" Jin Su asked. Maicha stood slowly. "What you're suggesting is dangerous. If we fail, humanity might not survive at all. If we do nothing, we'll just die slowly instead," Jin Su replied. Maicha looked around the room. "How many of you lost someone in the attacks?" Almost every hand went up. "Me too," she said softly. "My son and his family on Mars." She took a deep breath. "I'll do it, but everyone here must understand. There's no going back from this. Once we start, we fight until we win or until we're gone." Jin Su nodded. "That's why we call it Protocol Ultimatum." Maicha walked to the front of the room. "Tell the Confederation and the public that we're retreating, that we're pulling all remaining ships back to Earth. Make them think we've given up." "And then?" Yang Mai asked. "Then we show them how humans fight when we get serious," Maicha said, her voice hard as steel. "Dr. Jeho, how soon can your weapons be ready?" 3 weeks for full deployment, Jeho said. "You have 2, Maicha told him. "Admiral Jin Su, I want all surviving ships back in the Sol system within 10 days. Tell them we're retreating, but get them home." Jin Su saluted. "Yes, Madam President." As the meeting broke up, Yang Mai approached Jin Su. "Do you think we can win?" she asked quietly. Jin Su looked at the screen, still showing the secret human fleet. "I don't know, but I know this. They thought the fight was over. They're about to learn it's just beginning." For 2 weeks, Earth looked defeated. Human ships limped back to the Sol system. News channels showed sad faces and talked about rebuilding just on Earth. President Lee gave speeches about focusing on our home planet. Ambassador Taiwan seemed pleased. He offered more Confederation gifts to help humans recover. More medicine, more food technology, more things to make humans dependent. But beneath this show of defeat, a storm was brewing. Deep under the oceans, in hidden bases on the moon, and in secret facilities around Earth, humans worked day and night. They built weapons. They trained soldiers. They prepared for war. Jin Su met with General Sung Ho in an underground factory near Old Denver. Hundreds of workers built small, deadly ships that could move faster than anything the Confederation had shown them. "Will they be ready in time?" Jin Su asked. Sung Ho nodded. "The ships, yes. The pilots need more training." "They'll learn fast," Jin Su said. "Humans always do when we have no choice." In another facility, Dr. Jeho showed Yang Mei his greatest creation. It looked like a simple metal sphere, small enough to hold in 2 hands. "What does it do?" Yang Mei asked. "It shuts down Drek technology," Jeho explained. "All of it. At once." Yang Mei looked surprised. "How?" "The Confederation said that's impossible." Jeho smiled. "They lied. Or maybe they never tried hard enough. I studied how Drek weapons work. They all use the same energy source. This device disrupts it. Will it kill them? No. It just turns off their machines, their ships, their weapons." Jeho held up the sphere. "Humans don't need to be cruel to win. We just need to be smarter." Meanwhile, President Maicha met with leaders from the remaining human colonies, many joined by secure video links, their faces grim but determined. "The Confederation thinks we're broken," Maicha told them. "They expect us to stay quietly on Earth now, to give up the stars." "And the official Earth government?" asked one colony leader. "President Lee believes we need the Confederation's help," Maicha said. "He doesn't see the danger yet, but he will." "When do we move?" another asked. 7 days, Maicha replied. "Get your people ready." On Mars, the colony looked abandoned from above. Buildings stood empty. Landing pads were quiet. But underground, thousands of humans worked in huge caverns, building parts for the new fleet. The few Confederation observers allowed on Mars saw only what humans wanted them to see, a defeated people packing up to go back to Earth. Deep in the clouds of Jupiter, something else was happening. Hidden by the giant planet storms, a training ground had been created. Human pilots learned to fly the new ships in Jupiter's harsh gravity. If they could fly there, they could fly anywhere. Jin Su visited the Jupiter facility 5 days before the planned attack. He watched young pilots run drills in ships faster and more maneuverable than any human craft before. "They're good," said the training commander. "Better than good, but they're still outnumbered." "Numbers aren't everything," Jin Su replied. "The Drek and the Confederation think in straight lines. Attack, defend, retreat. Humans think differently." In his quarters that night, Jin Su looked at a picture of his daughter, Hana. "We're almost ready," he told her image. "They thought killing you would break us. Instead, it woke us up." On Earth, Ambassador Taiwan met with President Lee. They discussed the future of human Confederation relations. "We're so pleased with how well humans are accepting this setback," Taiwan said. "Some species fight until they destroy themselves completely. We're practical people," President Lee said. "We know when we're beaten." Neither noticed the small device under the table, recording every word. A device that sent its data directly to Maicha and Jin Su. The countdown to humanity's response had begun. And when it came, the galaxy would never be the same. The day arrived. Operation Reckoning would begin with what Jin Su called the warning shot. A single human ship left Earth's orbit. It was unlike any vessel humans had shown to the Confederation before. Sleek and dark, it moved with incredible speed. Its hull absorbed light rather than reflecting it. On radar, it was barely visible. Ambassador Taiwan rushed to President Lee's office when the ship was detected. "What is this?" Taiwan demanded. Your people agreed to keep all ships in the Sol system. President Lee looked confused. I don't know anything about this ship. Jin Su entered the room, wearing his full admiral's uniform for the first time since the attacks. That's my ship, he said calmly. The Remembrance. Admiral. President Lee stood up, angry. You have no authority to launch ships. I order you to bring it back immediately. I'm sorry, Mr. President, Jin Su said, but I answer to a different authority now. The door opened again. President Maicha walked in, flanked by General Sung Ho and several armed soldiers. What is this? President Lee asked. Maicha, you lost the election. You have no power here. The people gave me power, Maicha said. Not all of them, but enough. The ones who want to fight back. Taiwan's blue skin paled. Fight back. Against whom? Don't pretend, Jin Su said. His voice was cold. We know the Confederation helped the Drek attack our colonies. We have proof. That's ridiculous, Taiwan said, but his four hands moved nervously. On the screen behind them, the Remembrance continued its journey at incredible speed. Where is that ship going? Taiwan asked. Jin Su smiled. To the Drek homeworld. That's suicide. Taiwan's eyes widened. The Drek have thousands of ships protecting their planet. They'll destroy your vessel before it gets close. Will they? Jin Su asked. Let's watch and see. The room fell silent as they followed the ship's progress on the screen. It moved faster than any human ship should be able to move. It passed Confederation outposts without slowing. Taiwan touched a device on his wrist, speaking quickly in his own language. Calling for help, Jin Su guessed. Admiral, Taiwan said, his voice urgent now. Call your ship back. The Confederation cannot allow this attack. We will be forced to stop you. This isn't an attack, Jin Su said. It's a demonstration. Taiwan's communicator buzzed. He listened, then looked at Jin Su with new eyes. Eyes that showed the first hint of fear. Your ship. It just passed through the Drek defense line. Impossible. They didn't even detect it. On the screen, the Remembrance entered orbit around the Drek homeworld, a planet of brown deserts and gray cities. Now, Jin Su said quietly into his own communicator. A small object left the ship. It fell toward the planet's surface. Not a bomb. The metal sphere that Dr. Jeho had created. When it reached the upper atmosphere, it activated. Across the Drek planet, everything electronic stopped working. Ships hanging in orbit went dark and drifted. Weapons systems shut down. Communications ended. The mighty Drek war machines simply stopped. What have you done? Taiwan whispered. Exactly what I said. A demonstration. Jin Su looked directly at the alien. We could have dropped bombs. We could have killed millions, like they killed our people. But that's not the human way. Jin Su nodded to an officer who activated the communication system. His face would now be seen by every Confederation world. My name is Admiral Jin Su of Earth, he said. For years, we played by your rules. We trusted the Confederation. That trust was betrayed. Millions of my people died because of that betrayal. He paused, his eyes hard. The Drek homeworld is now defenseless. Their weapons cannot hurt anyone. Their ships cannot fly. We did this with one small ship and one small device. Jin Su leaned closer to the camera. And we have hundreds more ships coming. This was just the warning shot. Until now, you haven't seen what humans can really do. That changes today. The next day, the real attack began. Hidden ships emerged from all across the Sol system, from the dark side of the moon, from under Earth's oceans, from the clouds of Jupiter. 200 ships in all, far more than the Confederation thought humans could build. And they were not alone. Many alien ships joined them, smaller species from the Confederation who had also suffered under Drek attacks, who had also been told to accept their losses. They saw what humans did to the Drek homeworld, and decided to join the fight. Jin Su stood on the bridge of his new flagship, the Vengeance. Larger than the Remembrance, it carried weapons that no one in the galaxy had seen before. "All ships report ready, Admiral," Captain Sung Ho said. Jin Su nodded. "Begin Operation Reckoning." The fleet split into 3 groups. One headed for the main Drek fleet gathering near the edge of Confederation space. One moved to protect Earth and the remaining human colonies. And one, led by Jin Su, went straight to the center of Confederation power. On the Confederation Council world, panic spread. They had never expected this. Humans were supposed to be broken, defeated. How had they hidden such power? Ambassador Tadawon, now held under guard on Earth, watched the screens with wide eyes. "You don't understand what you're doing," he told President Maicha. "The Confederation has existed for thousands of years. You cannot defeat it." "We don't want to defeat the entire Confederation," Maicha replied. "Just the corrupt leaders who betrayed us, who used the Drek to do their dirty work." The human fleet moved faster than any ships in the galaxy. They used a new drive system that Dr. J-Ho had created, based on Confederation technology, but improved in ways the aliens never imagined. The Drek fought back hard. Their main fleet fired on the approaching human ships, but their weapons could not lock onto the human vessels. The same technology that made them nearly invisible to sensors also confused targeting systems. Human ships darted between Drek vessels, firing with incredible accuracy. They didn't try to destroy the Drek ships. Instead, they disabled them, targeting engines and weapons systems. "Admiral," Sung Ho reported, "the Drek fleet is in retreat. 60% of their ships are disabled but intact." Jin Su nodded. "Good. We don't need to kill them all. We just need to show them they can't beat us." Meanwhile, President Maicha addressed the full Confederation Council by video link. The council members from hundreds of species watched in shock as she presented evidence of the conspiracy. "These council members," she said, highlighting several aliens on the screen, "worked with the Drek to attack our colonies. They wanted to keep humanity contained. They feared what we might become." Some council members looked shocked. Others looked guilty. A few stood up to protest, but fell silent when Maicha showed them proof. Communication logs, weapon designs, secret meetings. Humanity does not want war with the Confederation. Maicha continued, "We want justice. Remove these corrupt leaders. Acknowledge what was done to us. Help us rebuild what was destroyed. Do this, and we can have peace." On the far side of Confederation space, the Drek leadership received a message from Admiral Jin Su. His face appeared on their screens, calm but determined. "Your fleet is defeated," he told them. "Your homeworld is still under our control. You have 2 choices. Surrender now and face justice for the deaths of millions of my people, or continue fighting and face the full force of human anger." The Drek war leader, a hulking figure with armored skin, stared at the human with disbelief. "How?" he asked. "How did you build such ships in secret? How did you defeat our defenses so easily?" Jin Su's expression hardened. "Because you made the worst mistake possible. You killed our children. You thought that would break us. Instead, it united us. It focused us." He leaned closer to the screen. "You thought the fight was over when you destroyed our colonies, but that's when humans get serious. That's when we show what we're really capable of." The Drek war leader looked at reports coming in from all fronts. Defeat after defeat. The mighty Drek forces were crumbling before this human onslaught. For the first time in their history, the Drek sent out a signal of surrender. 6 months after Operation Reckoning began, the galaxy was different. The Drek had surrendered completely. Their military was dismantled. Their leaders who ordered the attacks on human colonies faced justice. In the Confederation, 12 council members were removed from power. The evidence President Maicha presented was too strong to ignore. Some tried to flee but were caught by their own people. Jin Su stood at the window of the new human embassy on the Confederation capital world. The building was tall and proud, with the Earth flag flying high. From his view, he could see aliens of many species moving through the streets below. "Admiral," Yang Mai said, entering the room, "the new council is ready to meet with you." Jin Su nodded. "And our allies. The representatives from the Telos Varn and Melokai systems are already there. They're eager to sign the new treaty." These were the smaller species who had joined humans in the fight, who had also suffered from Trek attacks while the Confederation did nothing. Now they would be protected by the new alliance with humanity. The new Confederation Council chamber was large and round. Representatives from hundreds of worlds sat in rising circles. Jin Su walked to the center with President Maicha and their team. "People of the Confederation," Maicha began. "6 months ago, we fought against corruption and betrayal. Today, we come to build something better." She held up a data tablet containing the new Galactic Charter, a document that would change how species interacted across the stars. "This charter guarantees the rights of all species, no matter their size or power," she explained. "It creates a fair system where no one can use others as pawns in their games of power." The council voted. The new charter passed with overwhelming support. Many species had watched with awe as humans defeated the Drek so quickly. They respected strength, but they also respected how humans used that strength, not for revenge, but for justice. Later that day, Jin Su visited a quiet garden on Earth. A memorial had been built there for those lost in the Drek attacks. Names covered walls of smooth black stone. Millions of names. Jin Su found one. Hannah. He placed his hand on her name. "We did it," he said quietly. "We made them pay. Not with blind revenge, but with justice, with a better future." Yang Me stood beside him. "She would be proud of you." "I hope so." Jin Su looked up at the sky. "The Confederation underestimated us from the beginning. They thought we were just another simple species they could control. And now they know better," Yang Me said. A small sound made them turn. A young Drek child stood nearby, holding flowers. Its armored skin was softer than an adult's, its eyes larger and more innocent. Jin Su tensed. Even now, seeing the Drek brought back painful memories. The child approached slowly and placed the flowers beneath Hannah's name. "My teacher says your daughter was a healer," the child said in simple, careful human language. "I want to be a healer too, not a warrior." Jin Su felt something tight in his chest, loosened slightly. "She would like that," he said. As the child left, Jin Su and Yang Me walked through the memorial garden toward the new Earth government buildings. The rebuilding of the destroyed colonies had already begun. Human ships now moved freely through Confederation space, respected and even feared by other species. "What happens now?" Yang Me asked. Jin Su looked at the stars becoming visible in the evening sky. "Now we build. We explore. We make sure nothing like this happens again to anyone." He smiled slightly. "The Confederation thought the fight was over when they attacked us, but humanity was just getting started. Not just in war, but in changing the galaxy for the better." Around them, the lights of the new Earth capital glowed brighter as night fell. And up in the sky, human ships prepared to carry people to the stars once more, not as victims or pawns, but as equals, as leaders. The fight was over, and humanity had won not just the battle, but the peace that followed.